thank you all for being here, and also for the panelists to be here with me and share the stage with me. So we have a lot of good gentlemen here who have worked deeply on the customer journeys, and they do understand how these journeys work, right? Now, when we see other products, whatever we have today, we certainly have certain aspects and certain products which are there, which are helping the customers to be there, right? And it has not happened in a way we are thinking. I mean, it was not so smooth, right? Definitely, it has taken a long time. There was a lot of evolutions which has come up. There was a lot of things which have helped them to come up to this stage. And today now we have a pretty good customer journeys in the market. But still, are we there yet? Maybe yes, maybe not. So that's what I would like to also understand from the co-panelist here. So I will like to go ahead with Sumoth sir first. So Sumoth sir, just wanted to understand that being in the part of digital journey with the bank, how do you see these experiences as coming up with the omni-channel platforms? How they are helping to build a good journeys for the customers?
Hello, I'm audible? Thanks, Vikrant. Of course, for a digital journey and a seamless journey, omni-channel experience is very much important. So when you tell about omni-channel, there are two aspects to that. First, we have to look at what are the considerations which should go into that particular omni-channel experience for the customers, as well as for the backend systems. So when you tell about that experience to the customers, first we should understand which all channels a particular customer will be interacting. Nowadays, a lot of channels are there, whether it can be mobile banking or it can be web, it can be smartwatches, smart devices, or it's the branches. So there are multiple channels through which a customer can interact. If I tell about the banking experience, a customer can interact with the bank through all the multiple channels. So how do we ensure that at whichever point the customer interacts with the organization, he gets a seamless experience? So for that, other considerations what we have to see is that what are the technologies which goes behind each of the channels. So there's a challenge there. Each of the particular technology has its own architecture as well as its own limitations. So how we can seamlessly ensure that all these channels performs in a unified manner so that one customer, maybe he can initiate a request through one channel, but how the organization can respond back to the customer when he's maybe in another channel. So that defines the omni-channel experience, because maybe he places a request for a, say for example, a checkbook in a banking parlance through a mobile banking channel. But when he interacts with a chatbot later, if you are able to give the response to the customer, yes, your checkbook has been dispatched. So that defines the moment where the customer feels that, yeah, I'm interacting with the bank as a whole, not as a particular channel. So that's on the experience side from the customer. When you talk about the backend system side, as I earlier mentioned, each of the architecture of each of the channels will be different. So how do we stitch in all those backend systems together to ensure that the data flows back from each of the channel to a centralized system, and how the data again flows back to all the channels, because we don't know at which point of time the customer comes to which channel. So the answer to that particular customer's question should be available at any point of time in all the channels, so that whenever a customer interacts with any of the other channels, if you are able to give back the response, that defines the moment. Second, one challenge which we can is that, if I can again tell from the bank experience, we have customers from 18 years to 60 years. Their expectations will be different. Their way of interactions with the channels will be different. So how will we be able to take care of all those requirements? So all these things should be going into the consideration when we create about an omnichannel experience. For example, we launched our own organic, Federal Bank launched our own organic credit cards nearly 2 years back. So at that time itself, we had taken a decision that it will be 100% digital journey. There will not be any physical applications. Till date, we don't have any physical applications. But the customer can apply through either mobile banking or through net banking channels, and he gets the status in either of the channels when he goes back to check where his application is, whether it has been approved, whether it's pending. So that's how we define an omnichannel experience.
Experience one, and is it or not audible? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, thank you, sir, for that. We also have Sandeep with us from Geo Payments Bank. So Sandeep, I would like to understand something from you. Like, As Sumoth sir mentioned, it needs the redefinition of journeys. There are some innovations which are to be done. That how do you handle those innovations in balancing with the other aspects like regulations, also to handle the customer experiences. So how do you manage to handle that, and how do you see that as a opportunity to build a or redefining the customer journeys altogether?
Thank you. So first of all, before I start speaking on this subject, I would want all of us to take a step back and feel proud to be part of this industry. The industry which is innovating, adapting to the customer requirements in the ever-changing digital landscape in India. So if I look at banking in India, banking financial services in India has come a long way, and today across the globe, we are known for our innovation on the tech stack, we are known for our innovation on the product side, and also at the same time on the ground of a solid regulatory foundation. So the way I look at it, I see four pillars which are building the block of customer experience and overall BFS landscape. First, as I call it, innovation, automation, and I talk about innovation, automation, regulation, and above all, I think getting the integration of all this through. So nowadays, if we really expect to be in a place or expecting customers to come where we are, I think gone are those days. In past, we've heard the customer is the king, but in reality, it's only in the recent time when the customer is the king. Now, the approach that we have towards digital acquisition, the customer experience, is understand who our customer is, where she goes for her other requirements, and we are taking the banking there. The customer journey is all about, I would say, all about addressing the diversity of India. If I look at diversity of India, diversity by language, diversity by the age group, demographics, and above all, the diversity by ambition of the Indians. So if we were to really look at catering to this wider audience, we then need to align our customer journey and experience in such a way. At Geo, our philosophy is very clearly that we take digital to the customers. We reach where the customers are and provide them the solutions. So the basic construct of a customer journey today is through understanding where they are. We don't expect them to come into a bank. We are a payments bank, a digital bank. We don't expect customers to come here. We are taking banking to wherever the customers go. We provide them the services when they need it around the clock. So that's, if I look at these four factors as I stated, these are the really key essential pillars on which we are building the customer journey, customer experience, whichever language the customer is comfortable in, whichever platform, whether you want a fully self-service platform or a digitally assisted platform, we are providing the platforms to all Indians. We want to become, as we state, our logo is to become the new age Bank of India, and that's what we're trying to reach. And that can only happen once we take the customer experience to the next level. And talking about regulations, if you ask me, globally, everyone is looking at the Indian regulations, the pace at which India is evolved. If you look at the Ministry of Finance, the India Stack, the digital lending guidelines, all of these are very rightly timed for us in this banking and financial industry, banking in the financial space industry, to really explore innovation. At this moment, the biggest supporters for our innovation is actually, if nothing, nobody else but the regulator. And if I were to say we don't have to really worry about that, there's a lot available within the regulatory space to experiment on. And taking back to where Sumoth was talking about, it was about an omni-channel experience. I think the customer experience has to be not from where I want to bring in the banking product. It's what the customer wants to experience. In my philosophy about creating any customer onboarding platform or customer journey is about 3S. I believe the 3S principle is keep it simple, keep it smart, keep it safe. If you are able to put these 3S, understanding the customer well, I think we've got a platform where not only we'll have customers coming in, but customers staying with us for long. It's easy to acquire a customer, costly but easy to acquire a customer, but keeping the customer with you for a long term through the life cycle of their requirements is the key journey that I and our institution aims at. at Geo, of course, we are very happy to be part of the digital evolution within India and the journeys that we are going to build for that. So that's where I see the customer journeys, the customer experience, and I feel, once again, to reiterate, the regulations are really very, very supportive for us. So that's from my side.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. I mean, yes, you picked up a very right point on the India stack per se. So we have got lot many things from the India stack which have helped definitely to build the journeys which we are seeing today. I mean, it was might be it was a sort of one of the thing when we used to get the accounts open in earlier days, right? When you have to visit there, then you have to get the account opens, you have to fill up the forms. Now pretty of the things are getting sorted out and getting it easier. So while getting it easier, one of the point Sandeep sir talked about, like getting the customer in, like its onboarding part, right? So this onboarding part was been a little bit difficult for the earlier times, right? Now that has been simplified. So there, I would like to ask this question to the Ankit, that how you see this. I mean, these journeys are going to rebuild, and how you see new things are going to come up in this space, Arpit?
Yeah, I think so. One is that I think what both of my is it on? Yeah. So yeah, I think this is much better. So no, I think I would actually take points from both my co-panelists, right? If you look at even when we were born as Signzy, it was not that the journeys were not digital. Mobile banking existed, internet banking had existed for the longest time. But digital was analog, which means garbage in and garbage out. I think what has truly transformed from that 2015 to now in India, and that's the transformation we are seeing, is twofold. One is that the government has given so much data availability which did not exist, which means in real time I can find out a lot more about any customer. And the second is the advent of AI. I know it's a very abused term, but it is also very, very real. A lot of decision making which used to be human based, which means that, you know, what sir was saying, that the decision used to take time to come back to the front end channel. That now happens in milliseconds because of the AI which is enabling that decision on the front end. So from digital, what we believe is we have moved into a more intuitive phase of digitization, where the front end platform, and to what I think Sandeep mentioned earlier, right? That now the front end platform has to, and this is now bare minimum expectation of any journey, digital journey that you build, that front end has to understand the customer, understand the risk, understand what is the geographical limitation, and accordingly modify itself, right? Which means the journey. Yeah, this work. Yeah, I think that's to do with me, not the mic. Yeah. Um, but I think taking from my co-panelists, right? So I think basic expectation of any journey and the future journey is going to be that it can be done across platforms. It can intuitively be able to adapt real-time dynamic. And I think two technologies which will really become important for the future. One is AI. I think we are still very, very early in AI. I think India has been using it a lot. In fact, we do so much with face matches and document matches, but I think that is also very early. AI has so much power that we can do a lot of human decisioning right up front, and we're going to see it as us as a technology group as we evolve. The second is that the channel itself are going to change. So while we've been talking about mobile and web, if you look at the generation which is now coming up, a lot of them are spending times on virtual realities, whether you call them gaming, whether eventually if that's going to be VR headsets, I think the future will define, but people are moving from analog screens to a virtual reality screens. So which means a large part of the development on front ends like web and app, which has happened in the last decade, is also going to happen on a virtual reality or an augmented reality. So these two technologies, as we build more onboarding journeys, and I think we're talking about the future, so I'm kind of not talking about the past, but if you look into the future, AI and AR and VR are going to be two very important technologies for defining a customer experience. What it will be, I think there's a lot of smart people in the room in this hotel who will, I think, define it.
Yeah, that was excellent one, Arpit. Yeah, so this one is right. Yeah. As coming back to the one of the point, right? We spoke about that why customer journeys needs to be redefined, why those needs to be a simplified one, where the customers will be able to come on the platform and they will be able to get the experience which is the one which they are expecting altogether. But although if even though these things happens, sometimes it becomes very much difficult in today's era to engage the customer, because the way customers are using the apps and the switches which are happening, it is very much important to keep them engaged, where on the platform they will stay for long and they will get that experience all over the platforms, which are all the channels are there for that particular particular interface, we can say. They should get the similar experiences, that is good. And how you will get the onboarding done, that is also good. But how to keep this customer engaged so that they will have the experience which will stay long with them, and also they will be attached to that particular interfaces or particular solutions. So I would like to ask Rishi on that part, right? Rishi, how do you see these things can be mapped along with, so that we can keep customer better engaged? Yeah.
Thanks, Vikrant. And I think this goes beyond the digital journeys, platforms, etc. This is actually a promise which we as business owners have with our customers, right? And this I can vouch for it, that at least 4 pointers are extremely essential for managing those expectations, along with having those, digital onboarding, digital lending. I love 3S, right? It's a good term. I'll keep it. First and foremost of that promise is infrastructure, right? Assume, I don't want to comment that how mics were not working. Imagine that was happening in our customer journeys when we were making a UPI payment or a credit card journey. You'll switch, right? First and foremost is that infrastructure that has to be up and running and that needs to going on. The second part of the promise when we, onboard any new customer is the benefits that we're passing, right? If you come across, you will get X extra, right? If I buy something from, let's say, a physical store, I will get a premium product. If I make a UPI payment, it's going to be very convenient, fast. If I do payments via rewards, it's by cards, I'm going to get certain rewards. So that benefits have to be clearly identified, communicated, so that the expectation setting of those customers are done well. Believe you me, right? After you've set up the infrastructure, after you set up the benefits, the third, which is super important, is that the query resolution. It will happen that something will falter, something will fail. Your queries and how the time to resolve and the way you resolve empowers the customers to be loyalist to you and they actually engage. Fourth, which is an abused term, which is called as LCM, that has to be done very, very well, which is called as life cycle management, that how do we help any of the customers right from acquiring till the time what we define at a nirvana level, right? So the nirvana level for me as, let's say, digital platform could be I'm having 3 FDs, right, in a year, or I'm having secure payments, or I'm making 5 transactions in different categories. So that is my nirvana level, and I have to work from the promise to the onboarding, to the infrastructure, to the settlements, to the other pieces till I achieve that nirvana out of me, right? So I thought I'll keep it short and sweet, but I think promise is extremely essential to me for maintaining the overall journey perspective to achieve a nirvana in this case.
Yeah, excellent. So I mean, I mean, that was a very essentially insightful things which I've heard from you guys. So I thank you all for that. But there is an open question comes in my mind particularly. So suppose now we have got the customer journeys, engagement, onboarding. That things we have we are getting through, and we will get through there. Maybe not today. It will take some time to reach there, but we'll definitely will reach there. So, do you see any things as a challenge which might come in, and do you see anything which we should be taking care of in designing these journeys or do understanding these journeys? Just like the way what we say that the journeys which have been designed, those has to be simplified journeys, right? And that's what we all try to do, to have the simplified journeys where the customer should be able to easily come along, and they should experience the experience the way they are trying to avail that services. So do you see and do you foresee any challenges which we might come into the space, and how do we see that?
Uh, Maybe I will take that first. Because you're absolutely right. For any customer, especially the first point in touch is an onboarding journey with any institution. So if that is correct, that's taken us as that will be there. For example, if you take Federal Bank, when we created the credit card, we started with the pre-approved base, and it was a 3-click journey basically. Here too, because already we have all the data with us, we have all the analytics with us, we know whether the customer is eligible. So we send some pre-approved offers to them. He just accept the terms and conditions. He can just select the card he wants. He authenticates using an OTP. That's all. So basically, it's a 3-click journey. So customer need not think anything. He can just go with that flow, and he gets the card. And what we have done is that it's a digital first card. So as soon as the card is approved, he gets that card in his virtual card in his mobile bank, in Federal Bank's mobile banking app. So from the next minute, he can do the online transactions. The physical card, of course, will come later through the courier. But the next minute, he can use his card. So that's the experience the customer expects. And the next step what we've done is that existing customers non-pre-approved. But the journey remains the same. Only thing, he has to do one more leg for maybe uploading his statements or the other salary statements. But again, the journey remains the same. Then the third step was NTB. So again, maybe one more step plus, but actually that's 1 plus 1 plus. So basically, if you define the journeys correct, and the customer, as Sandeep was telling, customer is the king. And now customer expects is customer ecstasy. So if the journey is defined correctly and the customer is onboarded, he will be satisfied, and he will never leave that particular organization. If you are able to give that experience continuously to that particular customer, it doesn't end with that onboarding. We have to seamlessly continue that experience in each of the interactions with the organization. That's what I just want to add here.
So I'll add one angle to it. So if you look at the way I started with diversity of India, and if you look at the kind of customers or the segments of customers that we deal with, so taking the example of Sumoth, issuing you a credit card vis-a-vis issuing the credit card to the driver that we have to a maid, I think these all journeys need to be integrated in such a way that we bring in an experience of the same or a similar product which is customized to you. Gone are the days of one size fits all. You as a customer have options, and the customer needs to be treated that way, and that's how we need to design our journeys today. And if I look at double-clicking on this aspect, whether it's a language of touch and feel, that's where the first part of simple comes in. Can my journey be simply put in such a way that as a customer, you understand it right and you take the journey there? The second aspect is how, and once again, taking forward from where, how can I reduce your time of onboarding? If traditionally, for example, let's say a savings bank account opening used to take days, it became, from days it became to an hours. But I think now I can state that it should be a journey which gets done in 3 minutes or less than 3 minutes. How do we really ensure that the customer's expectation is done? And taking to what Rishi stated a while back, it's not about 99.9% accuracy or uptime. It's about 100% being there. Because that 0.1% experience can be at a time when you need that service the most. So if I blend all those things, looking at the diversity of India, a one-size-fit-all approach doesn't work for any of the institutions, even in banking and financial services. So what we need to be very clear in the design of the customer experience, the journeys, is how do our journeys cater to various things. So for example, when the regulator launched the video KYC or VSIP process, it was very easy for everyone to launch in English and Hindi, whereas the users somewhere in TN or somewhere in Northeast could have been very different. So it's how you scale up that journey, how you set up that journey first time right. Because when you set up those two languages and you didn't get the others right, whether it was AI based or other tools, if you didn't get the others right, the customer who came in for those was lost forever because there was somebody else who's serving it. So at this moment, it's about getting the customer experience right, right from the beginning and every time. And tech and AI, as we stated, plays a very, very important and critical role in that. Can today, when you're walking into the room, by the time you walk out of the room, can I issue you a credit card? That's where the experience lies. And that's what we are graduating towards.
Yeah. Yes,
I'll just chime in here, and I think agree with both the co-panelists. But I think coming from, let's say, a startup ecosystem, we understand that there is a huge and vast difference between, let's say, a deal-hungry person or, let's say, a affluent user, right? The journeys for them would be completely different. Absolutely, right? I would be looking at, for example, if I'm a convenience person, that it should be done like this. Whereby another Rishi, my devil would want 50% discount on those attributes. The journeys would be absolutely different in those cases. So when we look at doing it, we look at growing and building those journeys for various consumer sets and following a typical process, which involves having a minimum viable product, right? That, but of course, keeping the infrastructure and promise in mind that it will deliver. And then we slowly and gradually grow into the ecosystem by upselling and cross-selling and just adding on to the overall journey. So my limited point here is that start small but accurate and then keep on building on it and don't try and solve it on day zero immediately, which will be very difficult to do.
Arpit, I would like to hear you also.
Yeah, so yeah, is this here?
You can take this one.
Hello, is this audible? Yeah, I mean, some infra is like right point, right? So I genuinely feel that tech is going to be the number one challenge for the financial industry. And why I say that is if you look at Google, possibly the first ever company to talk about AI before people knew how to spell AI, the first to kind of get into it, invest into it, is playing catch up to a company which started, experimenting on Chat GPT 2 years ago. And that's because of the tremendous tech talent that OpenAI was able to build in a very short period of time and make the Google's tech obsolete. So I think the real risk that all of us are running is because everything that we spoke about will need a lot of tech building within these organizations. And I think the real risk is that will you be able to scale up your tech or tech stacks fast enough that you do not become obsolete when the next competitor or the next best tech comes in? Is your existing system getting obsolete? And that I think will define the next challenges or problems, because as banks we are still physical and digital, and some of it is, or large of it is physical and some of it is digital. But as we, I mean, at least what the trend is, as we are moving more and more into a tech enabled, even the customers or even employees are tech enabled, as more and more tech takes over, I think the number one question everyone should ask, and imagine a company like Google with their scale, size, with the kind of distribution strength they have, they actually internally started talking about Chat GPT as something that can actually finish them, right? So I think the number one risk everyone should talk about, that we also talk about internally, is that is there going to be a tech which will emerge and make our tech obsolete? Because that is truly the number one challenge when it comes to digitization.
Yeah, I thank you all of you to be so open and kind enough to answer all the questions which I had asked. I would like to ask from the audience perspective if anyone wants to take up any questions.
Hi, am I audible? Yeah. Hi, my name is Kushal, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Doll Finance. So we are building a global digital assets neobank wherein people can lend, borrow, spend, and trade digital assets using automated smart contracts, which are built on public blockchains like Polygon. So just to, as a follow-on question to your, like these digital assets could be CBDCs also. So my question is, when we are talking about, disrupting via technology, so how do you view the use of automated smart contracts which are built on blockchains, disrupting this particular space? Because these smart contracts are automated, and since these are built on blockchains, so all the data is public, so they are highly secure than the current, the legacy technology that we have, and also the centralized point of failures. Those point of failures are way lesser in these technologies. So how do you view the adoption of this technology, especially in the context of CBDCs?
Maybe I'll try to answer a little bit, especially on the CBDC, as discussed in the previous one of the panel. It's too early now to discuss on the CBDC part, because still the pilots are going on. The regulator is actually selected some cohorts of banks for piloting the CBDCs. Maybe it's a little bit too early to predict how the CBDC will work on the, especially on the smart contracts. That's one thing. Second, even the smart contracts itself, any blockchain product will be successful if the entire ecosystem is there. One-to-one, a particular contract will not be having that full-fledged effect of a smart contract. So the system has to be evolved. CBDC, of course, we need to wait and watch what will happen in the days to come. Right now, CBDC, as we all know, it's a equivalent of a digital equivalent of a physical cash. So use cases have to be developed, that have to be come in the future, but we have to wait and watch. That's my opinion. Maybe.
I think it's enough for mics also. The day has been so long that yeah, yeah. On this, I mean, on the blockchain per se, yeah. As Sumoth sir was mentioning, I mean, till the time all are into the space and everyone is contributing, that it's pretty early now to judge on that part. But yes, will it simplify? Yes, definitely it will simplify. Will it give us a great perspective or a great experience to the user? I believe it will give, but it's time which will tell that how it works out for all. Yeah. And I think, sorry, there was one more question from, yeah.
Since everyone spoke about customer journey and lifetime experience, I wanted to understand, since these journeys are new and evolving, the NPS comes in later. So what are the kinds of metrics that you track to ensure that the projects that you're undergoing for this kind of experience are improving year on year, and what are the kinds of metrics you look on to as leaders, industry leaders in the system?
So I would state, sorry, I would go a step back before I answer your question. Of course, the matrices, in my understanding, will differ for various customer segments. Of course, and when I say customer segments, largely I'll divide it into India and Bharat. So the matrices that will be there for, say, in India, which is from a relatively more digital adopted one, the segments of click-through rates, adoption, right from whether I'm looking at digital marketing, getting the interest right, getting the segment right, and then the click-through right to the journey. So those will be one set of matrices. But I would say the most difficult one at this time in moment in India, where the larger opportunity lies, is going to be the Bharat matrix. In Bharat, it all has to start with the education part first, because I would say digital inclusion is later, but financial inclusion, etc. If you look at from that matrix, the first thing is the assisted digital, getting that to the right place, ensuring that there's a coverage. The first matrix I would do for anything, whether it's India or Bharat, is what's the coverage it brings from the overall target segment. if it is going to bring in or only a small trickle or a drop, I think it's good to be excited about it, but it doesn't so fulfill two purposes, both organizationally from a revenue point of view, and second from a customer point of view also from giving that experience. So that's the first metrics. The second metrics which I see is what is the turnaround experience or the drop rate within each of these touch points. So I was just working with a set of students from one of the management institutes. They were working on the overall customer experience. They were telling stage 1, 20% drop, stage 2, 30% drop, etc. But they were losing in the entire thing that the end-to-end rate, conversion rate was only 8%. If that is the kind of metrics, if anyone is going to look at, I think those set of people who are ready to accept that should start looking for alternate jobs for themselves. I think the second biggest matrix is what's my see-through rate right from the start till the end. And the third matrix I will put in is, am I able to grab the attention of the TG which I think? For that, a lot of customer understanding, the segment understanding needs to go in. So these are the three matrices, not in any order, which I would look not only as a product guy, but more as a marketeer to really create the difference within the banking and its space.
I think it's the promise, and I think we aligned on this. But this is a marathon. This is what I can tell you. And in every journey, you will find loopholes, you will find pitholes, and the power of compounding is truly seen in the digital journeys. That you start with 100% and end to 8%, and that's very disheartening. The overall objective of PMs become that how do we make that final 8, which is the overall promise and the growth charter, and the end objective, what we set for ourselves as a company, becoming like 80% or 60%, reducing and constantly improvising by launching MVPs and improvising the products going forward. Right? Just my 2 cents.
Thanks. Yeah.
Last. Last question of the day.
No, maybe if it's a challenge, we can meet outside and then we can have your question answered. Yeah, if that's okay. Or can we arrange something for him?
I think it takes about 2-3 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. So
Yeah.
just check now.
Can you try now, please?
Just say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I really appreciate Bharat Fintech team and the entire set of panelists for taking the time out and sharing your thoughts on the industry as well as the banking ecosystem. My name is Sanjay Dudani and I'm part of Bajaj FinServ Direct. Bajaj FinServ Direct has recently launched a technology business scale-up. It's an end-to-end LOS platform across 4 different portfolios: credit tech, insurance tech, investment tech, and e-com tech. The topic of this sort of discussion is reimagining customer journeys, and we sort of build a lot of LOS and we sort of design a lot of customer journeys onto the platform. And there are 2 parts of customer journeys. One is assisted, one is unassisted. So the industry and the banking system is certainly moving towards unassisted sort of journeys. But then I've heard a lot of experts as well as panelists saying that you cannot get away with unassisted journeys. So which brings me to my question. When we say unassisted journey, it means that there has to be some manual intervention. It can be either through a physical network of branches, or a sales agent sort of assisting a customer in order to avail a loan. So that's what I was thinking, and that was that's what my question is. I want to understand your point of view. So what do you think? How feasible is it going to be, or to what percentage for the next 5 years or next 10 years, the physical nature of branches, the banking branches, are going to play a role in order to make financial inclusion or provide banking services to the millions of consumers as well as Indians, as well as I also want to understand your perspective on how physical nature of this entire journey is going to assist the unbanked into the banked segment, which is one of the priorities for the sector as well as for the industry. So would really appreciate if you can share your views on that, uh, the extent or the role of physical nature of, because assisted is unassisted is going to stay, but then the NSTP, the manual intervention, the physical nature of branches, is it going to stay, is it going to contract, how long, what are the timelines that you sort of advise us that how long it's going to stay, what role it's going to play. So yeah, that's my question.
Maybe by the time Jury answers this, so maybe my one thought on it, it's like, I mean, digital journeys cannot be unassisted journeys all together, because it's a different way of assistance for the perseverance of the one who is using those journeys. So I personally don't think these are unassisted journeys. Maybe you want to add something on that?
So I think I'll just make a very simple data point that if you look at purely digital businesses like Amazon, they're actually moving to physical stores. Lenskart is trying a physical store. Nika's large business comes from physical stores. Mama's largest margin comes from physical stores and not their online business. So I don't think anyone should assume that any business for that matter can only be digital in as long as we humans exist in the real world or a physical world. The day I think we all move to a matrix and we are all hooked to a wall and it's a virtual reality, maybe it can be purely digital. But I think a human nature requires physical touch and feel to be able to connect to a brand, to create loyalty and to create certain experiences that cannot be done digitally, right? Largely smell, touch, and maybe body language. So for a lot of reasons, the experience cannot be replicated. So the physical will exist. I mean, what shape and form, that I think each business will define for its own demographic of customers.
Maybe I'll just add one point on a specific question. Especially on the retail side, as you know, almost everything is digitalized. But the major gap right now is only, especially on the MSME side. So just before this session, we had heard Mr. Tamikoshi of ONDC telling about the ONDC framework. So once this data points comes in, whether it's ONDC or account aggregator frameworks and all, even a small pan shop wala in a village can get a credit through digitized means with his turnovers, all those captured through the ONDC networks plus the account aggregator frameworks. So maybe physical will coexist, maybe more digitization will in the anvil, maybe 3 years, 4 years down the line, maybe this will be vice versa compared to the present, maybe it's 10% digital, 90% physical, for especially I'm talking about the MSME segment, it can be other way maybe 4 or 5 years down the line. That's my take.
So I would add a few more parts to it. I think the entire, if we look at the physical journey also nowadays, if you ask me what about those brick and mortar branches, are they going to remain the same? The answer is likely no, because even if you go into our rural places where they need an assisted help, where they need assisted journeys, you will be surprised that we did a customer study where we found that even in the rural, the deep interiors, the smartphone penetration was as high as 83%. These people were already, despite staying there where there's nothing, so-called infrastructure, because the telecom connections are available, the smartphones are available, they are doing some transactions which we didn't believe that they will be doing. So assisted digital is more about financial inclusion and not about tech inclusion over there. So the brick and mortar shape is going to undergo a change, the transformation, but what kind only the time and adoption will say. For example, earlier, what used to happen is technology used to get invented in the Western countries and the leftovers used to come to the Eastern countries, including India. Now it's the other way around. So similarly here, I would say, right when on one end of the spectrum, we have people graduating on, or I would say super graduating on the self-service platforms. At the same time, the assisted journeys will continue to remain. It's like bringing up a child. You can't bring up a child during his or her upbringing only through AI. You will have to have some human interventions. But that intervention is going to keep on reducing, squeezing a lot, but it's not going to go away, and I agree with the views of my co-panelists on that. Percentages, at this moment, it will be very difficult to really put in. So we've seen the evolution of digital stores going into physical outlets or physical stores graduating into digital outlets. So all combinations are going to stay. There's not going to be a simple mathematical answer to your question. It's going to coexist.
Fine. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being patiently answering all the questions. And I know we ran ahead of time, but thank you. Thank you very much.